What's up, guys? I told you 2 days. So before you start this video, you need to click this link so you know what's going on in the beginning of this video. Was this guy angle shooting? We don't know. Let's find out. And there's another couple hands in here that are a little funny. So let's just go ahead and get into this episode and get you guys some hands.
Yeah.
I notice he still has his hand, so I'm thinking to myself, should I just scoop this pot really quick, mix it all up? I wasn't sure, honestly, if I wanted a call or not. I pretty much was hoping for a fold. It was a decent pot, and a lot of cards could have came that would have made my hand even worse. So I was really looking to pick it up. So when he shipped me the pot, I'm praying that the guy just mucks. But it put him in a weird spot, so let's hear what he has to say about it after. I also fast forwarded this for you guys. He literally tanked for probably 4 minutes before he ultimately laid it down too.
I might have killed your action.
I mean, like I don't know, just like that whole thing like killed my train of thought. I was just like so lost after that. I just couldn't think.
Yeah, I was pumped.
With that, it threw me off.
I knew you still had a hand, so I didn't know what to do. I was like, I'm just gonna wait.
Oh, okay, so you knew I still had a hand.
Yeah, I did. I knew you did. But if I mucked, I don't know what would have happened.
That would have been really weird.
So I just waited. That's why I didn't.
Okay, I damn well know what will happen if I let go of my hand right now. This guy will get the pot because he still has his cards. And then what's going to happen? Unless my hand is retrievable. And if it's a good dealer, my hand would not be retrievable. I'm not going to judge this dealer at all because we don't know what would have happened. I just sat there. The question is what... There are probably several ways that I could have handled it that would have influenced the guy a little bit more. Like, let's say I played into it. I started stacking chips and say, God damn it, I hit a set and nobody... But I'm acting like I know that everybody's folded. But I saw his card. I was one of the only people that knew. Of course I know how many people are in the pot. You know, I know the last guy hasn't folded yet. Whether his hands are covering his cards or not. I mean, he was right to my right, so that's different too. I suppose if he's across the table, that's a little different. You know, I've had situations where you run into shit like that. You can't see their hand, and you forget if it's like multi-way. There's 6 people, and you don't realize the 5th guy didn't fold. You know, things like that happen. But his hand's on it, but like I could see the corner of his cards. I knew he was the only person I was really worried about in the hand. Anyways, if I just stacked chips and started talking shit like, oh, every time I have a set, everybody folds, he would just fold right away, right? And like I said, I wanted this guy to fold because like the turn, there's a lot of turns that'll hurt my hand. Of course I'm bullshitting, so I'm just bullshitting with him like, you know, I'm not sure what would happen, blah blah blah. I'm never gonna sit there and explain people exactly the rules. I know I was a dealer for the World Series of Poker. I know how all these situations work. So I just play the game, I play along, and that's what ends up happening. So, you know, you don't really want to come out looking like a professional, like you know all the rules and this and like that. I bet I could have handled it a little better. That would have favored my situation a little bit better, but I'm more of like, I take it the honest way. I just sit there and then I really give this guy a chance to call. You know, it's kind of like fate. You know, like maybe he was gonna call and a complete blank would have came and I would have got a couple more streets of value out of him. But, you know, maybe, you know, he told me he had a straight draw and a flush draw, I believe. I definitely didn't want him in there. Long story short is I think he even had me percentage-wise if he, in fact, had the hand he said he did. That's just a quick breakdown of this little situation. Because people will get confused if they hear what I'm saying at the table, they're gonna think, you know, this, that, the other thing. No, I know exactly what's going on. This is just me playing into an image at the table. Let's get back to it.
Yeah, I think you would have. That's why I just chilled, and I didn't know. If I started stacking chips, maybe that would have made it official for me. I don't know though. So I guess as long as I kept my hand, yeah, it was weird.
Thank you, buddy.
A few hands later, I had Neeme 9 of clubs. Made him raise pre-flop. kind of by accident. I was trying to limp, and I accidentally dropped a second red chip.
So typically when this happens, I play it off, but you could tell by how the chip rolled and I tried to grab the other one, so it brought attention to it. Normally I would just try to play this off and make it look like some kind of crazy raise, but it was so obvious I had to bring it to everybody's attention, basically.
I was trying to limp, but...
You can limp, it doesn't matter.
So they min raised to 10.
I'll take it. Maybe it was a sign.
And I let it stand. They were like, oh, you can take it back. I let it stand. And we got a few callers.
Alright, time out for a minute here, guys. This situation is funky, and you'll see this happen at the table once in a while. It's kind of a shitty scenario all around for the whole game, in my opinion. We'll take it from my example. So for me, I was trying to limp, right? I limped, but ended up raising by accident. Typically, like I said, I would play it off, but because I like hand gestured to try to get the other chip back, I realized it had crossed the line, so I played it off as best as I could, but a couple people quickly realized, so I mentioned it out loud. The thing between this is that if you take this bet back, now my hand looks weaker than I wanted it to, right? And that's not good for poker. I say, no, leave it. So now on the flip side, let's say from someone else's view, they see me do this and they could think this is an angle shot. So now the hand becomes kind of tainted. The whole round, that whole hand is tainted from that point on. If you're weak, you never want to represent it, and taking a chip back would certainly represent it, right? I, in this situation, went ahead with it, but one more thing that pushed it even further was that there was a woman in the hand that was like, oh no, you know, like I think she was genuinely trying to help me, but we are at a poker table here. So what that means is she could easily have been knowing that her hand was weak and she didn't want to have to pay more. She was on the big blind, I believe, so she was really looking to get a cheap flop. So it's a really weird spot altogether, and it changes the game. There could be an angle shot in it. Obviously, it was a complete accident on my part. You know, what would you guys do? Leave a comment. Would you take your chip back? Would you play it off? Although that one was very difficult to play off, it's considering my hand motions. I dropped the chip and then I almost went to like, and I was like, oh, you know, now it becomes aware. If I did take that chip back, people would be like, okay, his hand is not that strong. But if I just go along with it, which I really didn't want to, I was just really hoping to limp, considering the people at the game and what was happening, I did not want to represent weakness for a second and just let it slide. And in this situation, it ended up working out. Be careful with your chips. Fancy things or just have bad habits. I'll take a whole stack of chips, and if I want to call 5, let's say I have a whole stack of 5s, I'll just slap my one chip so it'll like dispense off the bottom. But sometimes, just like that, it doesn't work. Maybe another chip is stuck to it. You know, people are drinking drinks and they can be sticky. Certain things happen. So there's a good tip for you guys. The smartest thing to do always, you know, a lot of you guys are going to be like, duh, because it's a very common known rule, and smartest practice is to cut your chips out behind the line, announce your bet, then move them forward. In this situation, that's not at all what I did, and because of that, I ended up in an awkward situation, and I ended up putting the table in an awkward situation. Like I said, is this guy angle shooting? Maybe he has aces and he's pretending like he's limping, but he just min raised, and to get everybody's money in there, it could just break down to so many scenarios. So I just wanted to do a quick timeout for that, because you will see that happen at the table, especially if you frequent them as much as I do. Let's get back into this action and see what happens.
Flop was king, 9 deuce, something like that. Either way, there was 2 clubs. I semi-bluffed c-bet and took it down. So basically, I am pretty much about even, maybe down a couple bucks at this point. and let's go ahead and just get back in there and see what we can do.
Alright, so this hand's pretty interesting. I am on the small blind. I have queen of diamonds, 5 of clubs. There are 2 limpers, under the gun and under the gun +1. I call, just defending my small blind, and the big blind checks. The flop comes out 7 deuce queen, 2 diamonds. At this point my hand is just kind of like a bluff catcher, so I go ahead and I check the flop, and it ends up checking through. The turn is deuce of hearts.
15.
I figure I'm probably ahead at this point if nobody's bet. Maybe I can get some diamonds to draw, so I size to 15, and under the gun player calls. The river is a 4 of hearts, so I go ahead and I bet 20, and she mumbles a little bit for a while and finally calls. And I feel like I'm pretty good. I was going for some really thin value after the check on the flop, and she rolls over queen 6 of hearts.
Playing the board.
Yeah. 7.
Beautiful.
It's a chop
Thin value. Thin value.
just because of the 7 on the board, so I'll happily split this one up. Alright, so on this next hand, I am under the gun with a 9-10 of spades. Typically I would be raising here, but there's a lot of 3-4 betting going on pre-flop in this crazy crowd. There's 6 other limpers, and we go 7 ways to the flop. Flop comes 10, 6, 8 rainbow. So the small blind checks, big blind checks. I have top pair with a gutter ball here, so I decide to lead for 25. Everybody folds up to the woman, and she ends up raising 100, and she is in the cutoff.
Oh God. Can't believe it.
So I make the very, very painful fold. I felt that I had a lot of equity because there was a spade also on the board, so it hurt me pretty bad as having top pair, a gut shot, and possible backdoor spades, but I fold. And the reason why I fold is because now she has about 250 behind, and I know that she is setting herself up for a shove. She's definitely getting her whole stack in if we are on the flop, and she's already betting 100 of her 350 that she had behind. Long story short, I decide I'm not going to chase this hand. I'm sure my hand is beat already, and I would have to catch. Someone else calls, so I get to see the turn, and it was a 5 of spades. Ugh, it gave me the backdoor flush draw with the gut shot and top pair. It was painful, and of course she went ahead and jammed, and the other player folded, so we never got to see a river. That is for, you know, results orientated, and I was correct on my read, so that was a tough laydown.
I want to see the river so bad.
I didn't want you to blow it up. I was like, you must have no people know you have a
Top pair, gut shot, and then I turned to flush draw.
Next hand, I get a queen 10 offsuit. I'm in from middle position, and I'm going to put in a raise of 15. Then we get 2 callers. We go to the flop. Flop is jack, 9, ace, and there's 2 clubs. It gets checked to me, and I see bet for 25. Both people call. The turn is a 7 of hearts, which gives me the double gutter, so I size down now. I'm trying to make it look like I have more of a value type hand, so I bet 45 and I get called by one person. So at this point I don't hit, I'm pretty much planning on shutting down. River comes out 4 of clubs, which completes a flush draw. I tank for a while, try and decide if I should try to put the 3rd barrel in, you know, the 2 semi bluffs into a 3rd complete bluff. Tank, check, and they check behind, and I pretty much immediately know that I was beat, and sure enough, they take this hand down.
Sure you're good.
Okay, so far in this session we've been running pretty shitty. We've been looking at pretty nasty cards, and then we finally get a king queen of spades. I'm in early position, I raise to 20. I get 1 caller behind, and we end up going to the flop. Flop is queen, 3 deuce, and there's 2 clubs. Again, we're heads up, so I bet small, about half pot to keep them around. I can certainly get hands that are weaker than mine to call. So I bet the 20, and we do get a call. We go to the turn, 8 of diamonds. So I still have a great hand and can, as far as I'm concerned, continue getting value. So I give another good price of 30 on the turn. And unfortunately, they end up making the fold. So we do take this pot down. This session is just not turning out too great for me, really. It's a lot of up and downs and slowly moving more down than up. Just seems to be one of those nights. That's what poker's about. Ace 5 of diamonds. I'm in middle position and I call 15 and we go 6 ways to the flop. The flop comes ace 7 6 rainbow and it gets checked around. I have a weak kicker, possible backdoor, so I kind of want to see where I'm at before I do anything crazy from an earlier position. It gets checked around, an 8 comes on the turn, so now I have open-ended plus a pair, and again everybody checks up to me, so I figure it's my time to take a shot, and then I take a little stab at the pot.
So I take a stab at the pot, and how much is that gonna be? Since you guys loved the cliffhanger so much on the last one, I figured I'd give you one more. Keep it up. I'll see you on the next one. What will I bet? Am I gonna take this one down? Can we turn this one around?